Hi, my name is Melody Vallon, and I'm the location chair for the Parent Peers ERG in Virginia Beach for GEICO. And this is my friend, the gecko. Ellray Jakes is magic. Chapter 10, to make a long story short. And now, the principal says, glancing at a piece of paper, we'll start with Jared Matthews and Stanley Washington, who are going to dance to big ol', he pauses a second, bottom. A couple of girls gasp, recognizing the song, and some of the boys start to crack up, remembering its real title. You'll change your music selection, please, if you happen to get in, the principal says over the uproar as Jared and Stanley stomp up the stairs at the side of the stage. Okay, and we'll wear different pants too, Jared says, bigger, lower ones. We'll see, the principal says, raising his hairy eyebrows. Stanley hands a CD to a lady standing near a table at the edge of the stage. Not too loud, Miss Myrna, the principal calls out to her, and she nods. Boom, boom, boom. The music starts up, and then the dancing starts, with kickbacks, heel hops, and a lot of swag and foot action. Who knew Jared and Stanley had it in them? They're not like Frankenstein's monster or the mummy at all. They must have been taking lessons or something. Is that cheating? Stanley's got the skanky leg down cold. He's keeping his knees bent really low, and it looks like he's skating. His legs seem so rubbery and smooth. His feet never leave the floor. He's keeping those moves clean. He looks sharp. Stanley, of all people. And Jaren's Dougie is good too. He's down low, his feet are shifting just right. His arms are pumping and pushing perfectly, swinging loose as they chop through the air. They move so far behind him, they seem to be about to wrap around his body. But he's not grabbing himself, which would mean getting rejected for sure. Stanley ends by taking hold of one foot and hopping over it with his whole body, almost. He stumbles, but just a little. At the same time, Jared ends with a little wheelchair action, dropping his knees as he circles his arms. Then he falls to the stage and whirls around on one beefy shoulder for their combined big finish. And yay, we all cheer, clapping like crazy, partly because they were so good and partly because we're surprised. Stanley pulls Jared up off the floor and they pretend bow and then shamble towards the stairs. Dude, Kevin high-fives each of them as they take their seats again. All right, settle down, the principal says, smiling, and we go on to our class's next 5 acts. To make a long story short, Fiona's poem didn't work out very well, though it started okay. This is a poem I wrote called The Death of Fuzzers by Fiona McNulty, she began. Fuzzers was my hamster who passed away, she explained, her eyes already filling with tears. Oh, darling Fuzzers, why did you have to go and die? Are you now a furry angel way up in the sky? And that was about as far as she got before she started to sob. I'll admit, that was entertaining for us kids, the boys anyway, but I don't think the judges liked it much. Miss Myrna had to go searching for some tissues, though. Fiona and her weak ankles barely made it down the stairs. Cynthia and Heather rushed over to help her to her seat, though, and Fiona looked happy about that. They patted her shoulders and whispered her back to normal. Kevin's jokes didn't work out either. He kept saying stuff like, no, wait, I forgot to tell you that the man was a clown, see? That kind of thing. And he did start laughing during his last joke, which came at the end of the longest 3 minutes in our Earth's history. I felt so bad for him. But we all clapped anyway, and Kevin looked like he thought it went pretty well. He was still laughing at his last joke when he sat down. Cry's juggling act, complete with these 2 cotton balls the size of marshmallows, turned into a comedy act, really, because she couldn't even keep the 2 cotton puffs in the air. But she talked the whole time she was trying to juggle. And she was so funny that the judges were laughing their heads off, even the little old guy with white hair who almost fell out of his seat. Miss Sanchez had to grab him. He looked like he hadn't laughed that hard in 50 years. Cry finished with the biggest curtsy you ever saw, and all of us kids clapped as hard as she came bouncing down the stairs. The Star Spangled Banner Act was okay, except you could barely hear Cynthia's puny singing voice over the blare of the CD Miss Myrna put on. And when Miss Myrna turned down the music, it got worse because then you could hear Cynthia's voice. Also, she kept repeating the same lines, which even I knew was wrong. And the rocket's red glare, and the rocket's red glare, and the rocket's red glare, and the rocket's red glare. The flag at the corner of the stage was too big and heavy for Heather to hold, so she stood behind Cynthia the whole time Cynthia sang, pretending to wave a flag, a serious and patriotic expression on her face. I was afraid she might cry too. She was so into it. I'll learn the real words for the show, Cynthia announced to the judges after our polite spatter of applause was over. But by that point, I was so nervous I could barely think straight because I was up next. I got an old red pencil case for my magic supplies out of my lunch bag with cold, numb fingers, and I prepared to climb those stairs. Part of me had changed plans and wanted to get into the talent show after all, and part of me wanted to flub my tricks and get rejected as planned, but all of me wanted to get it over with. The principal stood again as we clapped for Cynthia and Heather, who looked pink and happy, and as if they'd done a pretty good job. And finally, we have the magic that is Ellray Jakes, the principal said, giving me a too big introduction, considering that was in my little red pencil case. Considering what was in my little red pencil case. So put your hands together for Ellray the Magnificent. Oh, great, I thought. Now I'm magnificent? Like I'm gonna be able to live that one down. Man, I was hoping I wouldn't drop those quarters or accidentally cut the string.